I'm James Rowe. Over the last few weeks, I've been reading many of the letters that Colin wrote to my mother, which she systematically collected over a period of nearly 40 years. They are variously fascinating, poetic, funny, and libelous. I can hear Colin's voice in all of them. The one that struck me as most poignant, and that I would like to read to you, was written in September 1984. In it, Colin describes his reaction to the news of the death of Bernard Hoseley. It stands very well as a comment on what it means not to have Colin with us anymore. My dear Dorothy, I received a phone call from Zurich at 9 this morning, and after that I have received calls from Zurich and elsewhere all day long to tell me just the same thing. That my friend from Texas, Bernard Hoseley, suffered a heart attack in the Bangkok airport and promptly croaked there and then. So, being reasonably callous, sardonic, and cynical, for several hours I received no immediate impact. But after all the calls, I have, quite suddenly, found myself completely shattered, and I'm now behaving like a Victorian lady in the most violent extremities of grief. So, I was thrown into this condition at about midday when there were a number of students in my office, and I received a phone call from John Haydock, and then I was irrationally thrown into an absurd consternation of tears. My dear, it was too ridiculous. But all the studenten were molto simpatico because, quite suddenly, I disclosed quite unexpected sensibility. But, dearest Dorothy, though I have been in tears for several hours, I can only conclude that grief is self-indulgence. Queen Victoria could grieve for Albert because it was for the bed that she was missing. And without such intimacy, I suppose that one grieves for people because they are no longer available for dinner, because one had planned little dinners for them and little drives around places in Toscana. In other words, I suppose that death dislocates the dinner table and compromises the conversation. And as I write it, it somewhat relieves a misery.